I want to go to Dr. Yan. Dr. Yan, I'd like you to respond. I think CNN had this huge breaking story that's all this huge revelation about Hubei province in Wuhan. For the G News, GTV, War Room crowd, this is all news that Luda broke with you back in January mid-January, like January 19th. Can you walk through, though, your assessment of what this great breaking news that CNN's coming out with?
Sure, sir. So first, CNN has finally admit that there is solid evidence, as we already told people for months, that China government already hide the truth of COVID-19 and they will cover up in the government, and also the number of deaths toll of diagnosed cases wrong, and the technique is wrong, and also there are a lot of problems there. But the other thing I want to say is, besides that, there are many opinions in this report which I cannot agree with. First, they invited some experts that this is not because it cannot be 100% transparency, it's just because of technique problem. That is totally wrong. They just try to make Chinese government looks very innocent and blame the technique. And the second thing is very important, that they still try to blame Trump government, that although China government has done a lot of useful things and tried their best, but Trump downplayed this. So just image whose advice is Trump get at that time. I mean, who provided their professional data, professional suggestions to Trump? And Trump is not the expert in medicine, so why do you blame him instead of those experts? And the last thing is, people already believe Chinese Communist Party and WHO for too long. So if they still try, they can investigate the thing and give you the real answer. You are wrong.
I just want to, Raheem, and we're going to do some editing right here on the thing. Brian Kennedy is ready to talk to you ASAP.
Oh, brilliant.
So they're on a plane. They're heading in with a security detail. Very big breaking news out of Nevada. The Trump campaign is going to get their hands, starting at 1 o'clock today, Pacific time, on a voting system. Let me repeat that. They're going to get their hands on a voting system today. They've got a cyber team heading out there. So big time for long faces out there in mainstream media land. Also, I will tell you, I think actually people may have a system or two in a couple of other states. Won't give that up right now, but I think there's parts of the system's already being deconstructed. Dr. Yan, and we're going to have you hopefully back on tonight to go into some more detail when we have more time. But one of the things that the CCP has been doing over the last week, they've been going out of their way to somehow show the world, and maybe because they knew this was coming out and the mainstream media would finally catch up with Dr. Yan and War Room and GTV after a year of denying it. But the Chinese Communist Party at the highest levels are going out of their way to somehow say, oh, no, Dr. Yan's wrong. It didn't come from Wuhan. But you know what? It didn't come from the fresh market either. It actually came from Europe, right? Or it came from someplace else in the world. But why for our audience, why right now have they decided that it's in their interest to push out that it came from Europe, or the CCP had nothing to do with this, and particularly Wuhan lab had nothing to do with this?
Because more and more evidence shows, and also can verify my point, that they are the killer of the people in the world for COVID-19, and this is a government that purposely did this and released it to the world. They are scared, and when more people understand, it's more scared because people will hold them accountable.
Dr. Yan, I tell you, what's so amazing is now that the CNN is starting to concur with our original analysis of what went on. We wonder how long it's going to be until CNN actually starts to agree with your point that this came from specifically the Wuhan lab and it came from a biological weapons program. Can you give our audience, because if you look at this whole debate we're having over this election right now in Wisconsin, what are they arguing about? They're arguing about COVID-19. They're arguing about COVID-19 in the nursing homes and how votes are collected, or you couldn't do early voting, but you had to have absentee. Their whole excuse is that COVID-19 forced us to do this, and that's why those 221,000 votes should count, and Donald Trump should lose Wisconsin. So our whole life is permeated by this. When do you think they're going to come to the same conclusion that you've come to, that this is a biological weapon, and in your belief, that it was purposely let loose in the world by the Chinese Communist Party?
I think the time is once they give up their dream, the Chinese Communist Party will collaborate with WHO or experts to let people investigate the origin of COVID-19 in China. So until the day they give it up, there is no chance for them to admit this comes from China as a bioweapon.
Dr. Yan, thank you. You want to jump in, Jake?
No, I just wanted to say what Dr. Yan said was so important at the beginning. Yes, CNN has reported this, but it's always with a caveat, right? That it was a failure of some bureaucrats inside Wuhan who gave the bad data. It wasn't the intention of the Communist Party to provide bad data. People, it was the intention of the Communist Party to provide bad data. They are lying to this day about the extent of COVID-19 inside their country. And I think it's important that you pointed that out because CNN is giving us only half the story.
Well, it's always Trump's fault. Dr. Yan, we got to jump. One thing I want to say before you go, because we're going to have you hopefully back on tonight or tomorrow to go into this in more depth. You talk about heroes. Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, these people are being attacked every day. The witnesses coming up, the whistleblowers. I know you're a hero to the Chinese people. You're also a hero to the American people. What you have come over here as a defector and been relentless about telling the truth, no matter how people are attacking you, left, right, and center. You have many supporters and many friends here in the United States. So we want to thank you so much for coming forward once again.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Yan, and here's the thing you're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen. Everything we talk about, eventually, the other side will eventually admit to the truth. Okay? It took them a year. On Wuhan, on the 25th of January, we laid this whole thing out. Heck, in the broadcast we were doing on Lunar New Year on the 19th of January, we were laying this all out. The same thing with this election. They can't hide from the truth, okay? Eventually it all comes out. And they try to spin it, and they try to have this thing, oh, you're conspiracy theory guys, you're a bunch of nutcases. Yeah. Where is CNN with all those resources, Zucker? Where were you? They talk about they blame Trump, oh, they got blood on their hands. The blood is on the hands of CNN. CNN, you're supposed to be the world's news organization, right? You sat there and looked the other way, and you kowtowed and you carried water for the Chinese Communist Party, just like Jack Maxey points out and Dr. Yan points out, you carried water today.